I love disc golf, and I love in the bags. I especially love amateur in the bags. So here's my in the bag. I putt with the Dynamic Disc Deputy. I have a push putt, so this works great as a very understable option. Stays very straight, even though I let it out on a little bit of hyzer. I have 3 of them, so I can practice before tournaments. Then Trash Panda Inner Core, just straight throwing putter. Then I got 2 Bergs, K3 line Berg. This is mostly for some up shots that I just want to stick right on the green wherever I put them. And it's nice and gummy. And I got a K1 soft Berg. This one is more for driving. I can throw this up to about 225 feet and put it exactly where I want it to go without much skip. It doesn't glide too far on you, and if you practice with it, get it just right, then it's a great weapon. Next up is the Berg X. It's the Berg's bigger brother, a little bit more overstable. It is really reliable on the forehand. I will forehand the Berg a little bit, but this one I can really trust if I'm feeling like I need a little extra confidence that it's not going to flip over on me. This one can handle the quick snap torque and go exactly where I'm looking for on a forehand. Next up, the soft Neutron Proxy. This one is a great throwing putter. It can handle quite a bit of speed, and as long as it's an open space, say up to maybe about 270 feet for me, 275 maybe, I like to throw this soft Proxy. Next up are my approach discs. For approaches, I really like this Harp. The Harp is a very trusty disc. It'll definitely hyzer for me, forehand and backhand. I don't put a ton of snap on it because I can turn it over on a forehand, but on a backhand and forehand, this is a very good approach disc. I bag 2 ESP zones, 1 beat in. This orange was real beat in, and the gray one is newer ESP. So the newer one I can definitely trust a little more on a forehand that it's not going to turn over, and also it might go about 235 feet for me. The orange one, beat in one, is more like a 250, 260 because it's just going to stay straight a little longer before it hooks up. A lot of people think that the Harp and the Zone, because they actually have almost the same numbers, are the same, and so I shouldn't bag both, but the thing is, they actually are quite a bit different in that the Harp actually is slower for me. So this one really feels just more like a putter speed, really, and very similar almost to the Berg, a little faster. The last approach disc that I have is the Prodigy A2. It's noticeable notch of stability above the Zone. It's not up to a Zone OS level, but this one can handle a 2-finger forehand, and I just lay it out left and let it come in about 240 feet. On to my mid-ranges. Starting at the most understable is this MVP Uplink. It's a 5.5 -3.1. This disc is basically just for hyzer flips for me, low power, 50-60% hyzer flips. Just put it on a heavy angle and give it some snap, and it'll flip to flat and keep on going. Next up in stability is the MVP Detour. This is a 5.5 -2.1, so it is 1 notch more stable than the MVP Uplink, and it actually is for hyzer flips as well, but I'll need to put about 70-80% on it, and in certain situations it may call for this instead of the Uplink. If I feel it's a little touchy of a shot and I don't want it to flip over like it might possibly with the Uplink, then it might be this guy. This one I also will lay out flat and let the disc do its understable kind of work and just work its way back. If I want to throw out to the left of the basket and let it kind of pan in instead of doing a forehand, and that's the MVP Detour. Next one up is the Axiom Hex. This is in fission plastic, and it is a 5.5 -1.1, and this is just your straight to stable mid-range. Next one up is the EMac Truth. This is in hybrid plastic. It's actually somewhat similar to the Hex, except that it glides a lot more. Yeah, I almost think of it like in between a mid and a fairway driver, just because it glides so much. If I hit this one right, good spin, it might end up going 350 when I'm shooting a basket of 300, so that's why I might use the Hex. Even though they're somewhat of a similar line, this one wants to glide farther. Next, Axiom Pyro. It's very reliable. It's going to get its hyzer line, but it doesn't sit and dump. It rides just the line you want it to. And also, I use this one on a forehand a little bit, and it'll just a little snap, and it will ride that line really well, that hyzer line. Last mid is the Dynamic Discs Justice, and this one is a beefcake. And it is the most overstable mid that I have ever thrown. I use this one. I don't ever throw a backhand, it's too overstable. So I'll forehand this one with a 2-finger forehand, and I can just power fully into this, lay it out left, and know exactly where it's coming back at about 250 to 270. It's very similar to my A2 in a way, except my A2 is a shorter line, and this is the longer line of that same throw. Next, I've got 3 7-speed fairway drivers. The most understable is the Rhythm. I believe it's a 7.6 -2.1. So this I really like actually for some hyzer flips. You can put it on a little bit of hyzer and expect it to flip back up. I'm still learning it a little bit. I haven't had it too long, so learning exactly how much I can put on it before it starts to turn a little bit, come back. But I've also used it for some flat shots out left to let it pan, very similarly to the Detour, but a little bit faster. Next, we've got the Crave Proton plastic. It's very similar to my Hex, but farther. And so basically I put it, and I actually will throw it a lot like a mid with the same grip as a mid-range. When I just want it to go straight to the spot and kind of end close to there, that's the Crave. It doesn't really flip over much. I can use this a lot also for some flex lines, because I can put it like this and it has enough stability in this Proton plastic that it'll come out and then finish back on that flex line that I put it in. Last 7-speed I've got is this Exodus. And this, I believe, is a 7.5 -1.2. This one uses a hyzer to about 325, 330 whenever I'm trying to hit that. Also, another line that I like to do on this is just to power up and let the disc kind of get overpowered a little, but then it ends up coming back. So that's useful in certain lines you're trying to hit. On to the 9 speeds. The most understable is this Z-Flex Discraft Heat. Very flippy disc, but it's also pretty fast. So I can put it on a hyzer flip, go down a 300-foot tunnel, and then kind of come out there at the end. It's useful for that. All right, now the Streamline Lift. I absolutely adore this disc. It is a very point and shoot 9-speed. I can pick a spot, 300 feet down the tunnel, say it's a decent sized gap, fairway. I'll pick that exact spot, throw at that spot, and this will actually go right there and just finish with a very little fade. It doesn't flip over. It doesn't go either way. Very straight. I can't say enough about the lift. I love it. Next up is the MVP Tesla. This one's in triple black, so I can't really see much, so it's a beautiful disc. But 9.5 -1.2. And this disc is great for when I want to make sure that I can throw it hard, but it's going to come back at the end. Just a reliable amount. Nothing crazy, but pretty straight and a little bit left. About 350 feet. Then, my last fairway driver is the Fireball. I just put it in the bag. Actually, to be honest, I haven't even thrown it. I replaced a Sexton Firebird because that Sexton Firebird was getting a little bit too beat in and a little bit floppy, I guess you might say. This one's got a super flat top, which is what I like about it, and I'm excited to find out if it's exactly what I'm looking for, but I think it will be. It feels nice in the hand, and it's mostly for forehand, when I need about right around 300 feet on forehand at a very consistent hyzer out. Backhand wise, it actually will be useful in the wind, especially some left to right winds that might keep it a little bit straighter when I don't want it to turn over because of that heavy wind. Next up are my specialty drivers, utility, specialty. These are specifically only for thumbers, and they're the same disc, the Discraft Flick. It's 12.5 plus 1.5. It's a very, very, very overstable disc. And the reason why is on thumbers, the more overstable, the longer it'll take to do its pan and get you extra distance. So this one is 145 gram, and it can go about 340 for me, max distance. This one's 172 grams, it goes about 280 for me. So I use them for utility shots for that, getting over stuff, just getting to the spot when there's something in the way. All right, on to the distance driver. I have 3 Graces, Latitude 64 Grace. I love this disc. It's been my favorite distance driver for a couple years now. Ever since it came out, it just was perfect for me, perfect for my arm speed. I've got a flippy one. This was really flippy, hit a lot of trees with it, one of the early runs of the Grace, and it got way flippy. Now it basically acts like the Heat does, but faster. So if I've got a max distance tunnel I'm trying to hit and I'm feeling confident, it'll be this guy, flip to flat and finish for me. Then I've got the Stable, which is one of my bomber discs. Goes out, gets some distance, gets great distance, has reliable finish. And then this newer Grace can handle a little bit more wind. It's more like a moderate headwind, and this will do similar to what that yellow Grace will do, but with that headwind. Next, Innova Halo Wraith. So this is the Garrett Girthy. It's nice and overstable. This can handle almost most headwinds. Say it's up to 15-20 miles an hour. I can throw this hard into a headwind and it will get some turn, but it will eventually come out. And so that's what I'm looking for with this, still be able to get some distance in a headwind and nice and reliable. Next up is my Discraft Force. This one is really overstable. I can trust it on a nice line to go about, and it's basically just for forehand. On a nice line, forehand, I can hit it hard, flat, and know it's going to hyzer very consistently and get to its spot. Discraft Force. Next up, the MVP Octane Proton Plastic, 13.5 -1.2. I use this one for forehands. The -1.2 sounds like it would flip over, especially on forehand, but this one hasn't, and it's perfect right now. I can hit it hard on a forehand, max distance type of throw. It'll get a little bit and then reliably come out. Next step is the Panic. It's overstable brother to the Octane. And the Panic is 13.4 -0.53. And I bought this one because I love how that Octane flies, but I want this one to be where I can flex it a little bit. I'm hoping that it is that. It is the same rim size, which I really like with the Octane for my forehands, and it's just that next step up in stability. So hopefully I can get some flex lines on it and have it come out. I haven't thrown it yet, but that's what I bought it for, to be that next step up, to do some flex lines. So then I've got my Innova Shryke, and this is in G-Star plastic, which I really love their G-Star plastic. I'm actually not much of an Innova guy, but the G-Star plastic, and especially with a Shryke, it's a great mold. It can be a max distance mold for a lot of people. For me, it basically is that max distance mold, and it's got a decent, nice stability. You know, it ends straight. It doesn't flip over and keep going that way. It comes back ends straight, gets me some max distance on some decent sized fairways. Last up is the Innova G-Star Corvette. Now this is very similar to that Shryke, but it's a little more understable. And so as long as I've got enough fairway width then this is a great one, and max distance throw, and try to get as much as I can on it. It'll sometimes end a little bit farther to the right with its understability. That's it for my discs. I'll quickly go through my bag here. It's a Zuca XL. It can hold tons of discs. And I've got like, you know, room for 30 discs in there. I've got room for lots of food and water and all the goodies that you might need in a tournament. Then I've got the XXL Power Pocket, which is this putter pouch, and it holds putters and approaches for me. Got some minis here. Got a mini, room for a marker. Got a retriever here for lost discs in the water. Got a towel. Towel's great to have during your round. This is pretty cool. Just got this with some disc I got in the mail, and this is for trash. So that's pretty cool. My tag, not a great number, but 2024 Grand Valley Disc Golf Club. Let's go. And I've also got a rangefinder. Love having the rangefinder. That's pretty useful. Oh, always having some Tylenol. You never know when a headache's going to be coming on, and you don't want to deal with that too long. A couple of dog leashes for the pooches. Got a trash bag, good to have, and a little pad. This comes out every once in a while, especially in the summertime when there's a lot of leaves on the trees and you get behind stuff and you got to do some kneeling putts. And that's my in the bag. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following.